I think when we think about, we're all rather amazed at the many ways in which our parents stay with us, no matter how old we may be. I know that on my own part, I picked up a number of expressions and sayings that both my parents used. One phrase my mother used to use quite a bit was, "All good things come to an end." And she would say that in the place of a lot of fun, or everybody's having a good time, but she would also sometimes use it ironically. For example, when we were visiting one of my father's sisters, who she was not too fond of, when the visit was close to an end, she would get up and say, "Well, all good things must come to an end." But we all knew what she meant. But Jesus and his time knew that the temple would not last forever, contrary to what many people thought. It was a formidable building. Hard to believe that within a few years after Jesus died on the cross and rose, that building, so beautiful and so magnificent, would be torn down by the Romans, brick by brick, and only one wall left, just as Jesus had predicted. So even that magnificent building, which was built to last forever, had an end. There is so much in our world to be anxious about. There are many fears that all of us have. Fear of terrorism, fear of climate change, fear of loss of employment, fear of violence, and so on. But Christ promises us that things in the end will be all right, because God has the last word in this marvelous creation of His. When death on the cross appeared to be the end, God had the last word, and that last word was the empty tomb. Throughout our lives, we will experience many ups and downs. We will experience death and resurrection many times over as the neatly structured of our lives are torn down one way or another. And the words of Jesus reminds us to have hope, to hang on, and to place our trust in something that is much larger than ourselves, larger, more important than what we may possess, even larger than our relationships, our health, our capacities, or even our intellect. That it is to place our ultimate trust in the one from whom all of these things come. It is to accept our own mortality and trust in God's unchangeable grace and goodness, so that we might be freed from the captivity of fear and finally live full and grace-filled lives as children of the Lord. We give thanks every day of our lives for God's grace and what He does for us. And especially, we give thanks for that virtue of hope.